Imagine waking up on a deserted island with no rescue, no food, no signal, and no idea if anyone even knows you are alive. At first, you believe your only enemies are hunger, dehydration, and time. But then you realize something else lives there, something that hunts at night, something that sees you as prey. This is Sweetheart, a brutal survival horror story where isolation turns into terror and survival becomes a war against an unseen predator. The story begins in eerie silence. Jen wakes up on a remote tropical shore after surviving a boating accident. She is injured, dehydrated, exhausted, and completely alone. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction. No boats, no people, no hope in sight, just sand, water, and the terrifying realization that rescue may never come. Jen searches the beach and finds wreckage from the accident, including parts of the boat, a broken raft, and a cooler containing limited food and water. The supplies are not enough to last long. She quickly understands that survival depends entirely on her strength and decisions. She builds a shelter using palm leaves and scattered debris. She learns to ration water carefully. She scavenges for coconuts, edible plants, and small sea creatures. Her struggle feels painfully real. Her hands blister. Her body weakens from hunger. The heat drains her energy. Loneliness presses heavily on her mind, slowly breaking her emotional stability. During the day, the island looks peaceful, almost beautiful. The waves shimmer under the sun. The trees sway calmly in the wind. But when night falls, the atmosphere changes. The darkness feels heavier. The ocean sounds deeper. The island begins to feel hostile. Jen notices unsettling details around her. Large, unnatural footprints appear in the sand. Dead animals lie torn apart in disturbing ways. Deep claw marks scar the shoreline. At night, distant splashing sounds echo from the water, followed by slow, heavy movement along the beach. At first, she assumes it could be sharks, wild animals, or fear playing tricks on her mind. But as the nights pass, the pattern becomes undeniable. One night, while hiding inside her shelter, she hears wet footsteps approaching. Her breathing slows. Her body freezes. Through the darkness, she briefly sees a massive, distorted silhouette crawling out of the ocean. The figure moves like nothing she recognizes. Not fully animal, not fully human, something unnatural, something dangerous. She holds her breath, terrified that if it notices her, she will not survive. The creature roams the shoreline, sniffing, searching, hunting, before disappearing back into the water before sunrise. Days pass and the mental strain intensifies. Jen talks to herself, replays memories, fights despair. The silence feels suffocating. The island begins to feel less like a refuge and more like a prison. Her routine becomes survival-focused. Gather supplies during the day. Strengthen shelter, prepare defenses, hide before night arrives, because every night the presence returns, and every night it feels closer. One night the footsteps come louder than ever, the splashing stops, the breathing is close. The presence feels right outside her shelter. Jen grips a makeshift weapon, heart racing. And she finally accepts the truth. She is not alone on this island. She is being hunted. Jen soon confirms that the terrifying presence is real. One night she hides behind rocks and watches the shoreline. The ocean shifts violently and a large humanoid sea creature crawls onto the sand. Its skin looks rough and scarred. Its posture is unnatural. It moves with a disturbing blend of intelligence and animal instinct. It stands upright yet crawls like a predator. Its presence feels ancient, violent, and merciless. The creature feeds on dead animals along the shore, ripping flesh with brutal strength. Then it begins searching the island. Searching for her, Jen stays completely silent, terrified that a single sound could mean death. Eventually, the creature discovers Jen's shelter. It attacks violently, tearing through her campsite and destroying everything she built. Supplies scatter. Shelter collapses. Safety disappears. Jen barely escapes, running into the jungle in terror. From that moment, survival changes completely. It is no longer about finding food and water. It becomes about avoiding a hunter that sees her as prey. Jen begins studying the creature's behavior with intense focus. She notices it only comes ashore at night and always returns to the ocean before sunrise. It moves with experience as if it has hunted humans before. It is not a random animal acting on instinct. It follows a pattern. It controls this territory. While exploring deeper inland, Jen discovers horrifying proof that she is not the first person to be stranded on this island. She finds old skeletons buried in shallow sand, torn clothing scattered across the forest floor, broken personal belongings, and remnants of destroyed campsites. The realization hits her with crushing force. Others came here before. None escaped. The island is not just dangerous. It is a graveyard. Fear, grief, and hopelessness overwhelm her. She breaks down emotionally, crying, screaming into the empty air, nearly surrendering to despair. The loneliness feels unbearable. The silence feels suffocating. For a moment it seems like she might give up completely, but instead of letting fear consume her, something inside her shifts. Her mindset changes. She stops thinking like prey. She starts thinking like a survivor who refuses to die. If the creature hunts her, she decides she will fight back. She turns fear into strategy and panic into preparation. Jen sharpens tools into weapons, carving wood into sharp stakes and reinforcing broken materials into usable defenses. She builds traps along the shoreline, carefully positioning them where the creature usually appears. She strengthens her shelter, making it harder to destroy. She studies the creature's movement patterns, memorizing its timing, its habits, and its weaknesses. She learns how it reacts to fire and sound, testing what slows it down and what drives it away. She uses fire as both a weapon and a shield, understanding that flames are one of the few things that give her control. Her transformation becomes clear. She is no longer waiting to be killed. She is preparing for war. Every movement becomes intentional. Every decision becomes calculated. Every night becomes a test of courage. As darkness approaches once again, Jen grips a weapon tightly, whispering to herself that if the creature returns, she will be ready. The wind shifts. The waves grow louder. The ocean begins to move. Suddenly, the water erupts as the creature emerges from the ocean once more. Its presence feels violent and menacing. This time, Jen does not run. She watches. She waits. She times her strike. As the creature approaches her shelter, she launches her attack. She throws sharpened weapons with force, triggers traps that snap and pierce, and uses fire to blind and disorient it. The creature roars in rage and pain, lunging toward her with terrifying speed. The fight becomes brutal, desperate, and relentless. The creature is physically stronger, tossing Jen to the ground and slamming her into the sand. She stumbles, bleeds, and nearly loses consciousness, but she refuses to give up. She fights with intelligence instead of raw strength, constantly adjusting her tactics to stay alive. During the struggle, Jen realizes the creature weakens the longer it remains on land. It relies on moisture. Its body reacts badly to heat. Fire burns it deeply. Sharp weapons injure it more than blunt force. She uses this knowledge to push it farther from the shoreline, forcing it into a vulnerable position where retreat becomes harder. The battle intensifies as both of them struggle for control. At one point, the creature overpowers her and pins her down. She is exhausted, injured, gasping for breath, seconds away from being killed. Fear surges through her, but it is met with fierce determination. Jen stands trembling, covered in blood and sweat, staring at the fallen monster, struggling to process what just happened. The nightmare appears to be over, but as dawn begins to rise, a chilling thought crosses her mind. What if it was not the only one? Her strength lies not only in her physical endurance, but also in her mental resilience and emotional willpower. In the end, Sweetheart becomes a story about confronting fear head-on, about refusing to be defined by terror, and about finding power even in the most hopeless situations. Jen stands as proof that survival is not just about staying alive, but about refusing to let fear control your fate.